TALKLIN. Let's talk linguistics.
Hello, it's Stuart here, and I'm saying welcome to Talking NG Podcast. If you're just listening for the first time, I'm saying welcome on board. Talking NG Podcast is a podcast where we discuss language and linguistics in Nigeria. In this very first episode of Talking NG Podcast, we're going to be looking at some things in linguistics. We're going to be talking about them briefly as an introduction. Today's episode is going to be a question and answer session with a very important guest that I have with me in the house today. My guest here today is a PhD candidate at the Tulane University, Louisiana, United States of America, and a Fulbright Alumnus. So he's going to introduce himself. When we come back from the short break, we'll dive into the conversation for today. Be right back. Welcome, sir. Welcome to Talking. So good to have you. Can we please meet you, sir?
Thank you very much. My name is Japhet Ajani, and I'm a linguist, and I do phonetics, phonology, and social phonetics.
Thank you very much, sir. So good to have you around. It's a pleasure. So straight to the talk. The first thing we would like to know is what really is linguistics? What really is linguistics?
Okay, I'll first tell you what linguistics is not, and then I'll try to relate that to what linguistics really is. Linguistics is not a study of where you know how to speak languages. There's a huge misconception about what linguistics is not. People talk about, linguists, you are going to learn how to speak other languages. But linguistics itself is a science, and it's a science of languages. So linguistics is broadly the study of languages, and a scientific study of languages, to be more detailed in that definition.
Okay, so you said linguistics is a scientific study of language. So how is linguistics really a science?
Alright, thank you. So because linguistics is situated in the humanities, doesn't make it less of a science course. Linguistics deals with, in the huge sciences or the major sciences, you do things like data collection, you formulate hypotheses, you do experiments, that kind of thing. Linguistics is a science because we incorporate all those things as well in how we understand better what language is made up of and what language is not made up of. For instance, you want to investigate a language that no one has ever researched on in the first place. So you want to think about how you draw up your hypothesis. You go to the field, you do research, you get some data. By data, I mean you get some recordings or you do some interviews. It could be visual, it could be audio, or both audio visual. And then you try to evaluate your data as opposed to you just narrating it. So you want to look empirically at what it says, what it doesn't say, and then you formulate your rules based off of what you think. So that makes it a huge science field for me.
Thank you very much. That's quite eye-opening. So it's been observed that people actually associate linguistics with the study of some particular languages, such as European languages, English language, or the like. So how does linguistics differ from all these other language-based disciplines?
Linguistics is the umbrella of all these fields. I know that's arguable. Most people don't want to agree with me. But in the most detailed fashion, linguistics talks about language. We don't want to talk about languages. So this is a huge misconception. Because you pluralize language means you're talking about many languages. But when you don't even pluralize languages, you're talking about just one language. That's not true. If a linguist says we study language, What it means is we study all the languages, whether it's French, whether it's German, whether it's Yoruba, whether it's Hausa, whether it's Igbo. You study language, and by language, it's just like it's like a broad extension covering all the languages. So, yeah, people who do Yoruba specifically, people who do English specifically, are trying to look at a language that we do. The linguist will study all languages, and it might interest you. Some people, when they hear a language, they do not even know or do not know a name of, they may speculate that this language comes from this area, given the kind of exposure they have to the study of languages.
Thank you very much. So let's apply this to the Nigerian context. Now, when a child goes to school, it is expected that he studies something that can bring him in, because everybody is hustling. So when you are going to school, they're asking you, so how do you make money from this? My dad personally asked me, how can you make money from linguistics? So I want to ask, is linguistics really practical? Can it be applied to society and national development in that sense?
Yes, thanks. That's a very good question, and I know that the bane of most parents when they hear their kids studying linguistics. And in fact, it might interest you, and I'm sure you know, most people who study linguistics did not choose linguistics. They did not choose linguistics. And going back to your question, you want to see the end goal of what you're studying. Linguistics is practicable. And let me just put this forward to everyone. Wherever language is used, linguistics is relevant. Wherever language is used, linguistics is relevant. In banking, language is used. In universities, language is used. In churches, language is used. Everywhere a language or languages are used, linguistics is a relevant thing in there. Let me give you an example. In places outside Nigeria, linguistics is gold. Now people talk about forensic linguistics, where you can help solve a crime, like court cases. You could use your linguistics, your linguistic ability, so this is to help solve a case. I know of a case I listened to online years ago where the definite determinant was used in convicting a crime or a suspect. So that's a huge thing. You only see farther than where you go to. You can see above where you go. So if you live in a rural place, for instance, or a backward place, for instance, you're not going to see farther than people who live in the city. So it's good that we are talking about this, and I think it will do a lot of justice to broadening your horizon as to what linguistics could be used for. Linguistics is relevant.
So let me ask this. I believe people would want to ask that, is language only worth studying? Like, these are our language, we speak it. About people say that when it comes to Yoruba, they tell you, what's this? It is the same Yoruba we speak. So is language only worth studying?
Okay, trying to belittle or deprecate a language is a disservice to the language itself. One thing we must know is no language is too small to learn, and it's too unuseful. Let me say that right. No language is unuseful to study. No language is unprofitable to study. Let me give you a practical example. There was a university in the US that needed someone who speaks. They needed someone who speaks one of these dialect of Asian languages, like the dialect of Chinese, for instance. They hired that person, and that person is collecting a huge lot of money right now. The people in the community might say, why are you studying this language? But there are a lot of backwardness in our society to underplay, or rather to downplay languages. That's why we are losing our languages, because we don't see the vitality that are embedded in them. There are lots of resources we could get from we using our languages, studying our languages. For one reason, it teaches you that you value something. And if you value what is yours, no one is going to come to tell you that what you have is not valuable, because you have believed first in yourself that my language is huge, my language is profitable, my language is big. That's why you want to devote all your resources, or you want to put in everything you have to make sure that you continually learn this language. So I'll just plead with you, please do not try to undermine, deprecate, or belittle your language.
That's really huge advice to us. And one of the things we do at this podcast is to encourage the love and respect and treasure for indigenous languages. So before I ask the last question, let me ask this: who is a linguist, and what does it do?
A linguist is someone who specializes in the investigation of languages. A linguist does not necessarily speak many languages. A linguist understands the rules, the study, or the rules that back up the study of the language. For instance, I don't need to speak Russian. I just need a piece of data in Russian, and I can tell you what Russian is. That's the beauty of linguists. The linguist understands, even more than a native speaker. The linguist understands the language. The linguist can tell you what is going on, those subconscious things you overlook. The linguist can tell you what your language is made up of. And a linguist can do anything. You remember I said, wherever language is spoken, a linguist is relevant. So a linguist can work as a consultant, a language consultant. A linguist can work in a university. You can be an interpreter. You could be, let's say, you could work in designing programs, language programs for learning. You could be a forensic linguist, like I referred to earlier. You could be a whole lot of things. But the thing is, you have to believe in yourself and find a need that your linguistics, education can help you solve and maybe contribute to society.
Thank you very much. It's been an awesome moment having you around. So, to the last question, one focus of Talk Language is to advocate for endangered languages and to see that, if possible, all of them are documented and probably without error. So, I want you to just say what about endangered languages, especially in Nigeria.
Okay, well, sadly, Nigeria has a number of endangered languages. So, the meaning of endangered languages, or an endangered language, is a language that has been threatened by other languages and is not frequently used by people, and we can speculatively say in a few years' time the language may die. Right? So just think about this. Just think about an endangered language as an individual who has been threatened and his livelihood is questionable. So think about it that way and see that this individual can or may die at any time. An endangered language, it can die or may die at any time as well. And most of the reasons why the language is endangered could be man-made or largely they are man-made. For instance, you talk about migration, you talk about war, you talk about farming, you talk about one constant one that we have right now is people not taking pride in using those languages, thereby relegating that language, and the language may die. So if a language is endangered, you have to go check back. Why is it endangered? Are people not using it? Are they using it? So if they are using it, how or to what level are they using it? So One of just like the moderator said, one of the reasons a linguist is in existence is to help preserve the language that made that. And when a language dies, everything about the language dies as well. The people die, the people die, the language dies, the way of life dies. And think about it as a death that, I don't know how to put it, a death that cannot be redeemable, of course. All deaths are not redeemable. But in this case, when a language dies, everything goes with it. The community goes with it. The food they eat goes with it. The clothes, the kind of designs, the entire way of life perishes with a language that dies, that goes to extinction. So one significant way is to protect endangered languages so that they will not lose what they stand for in life.
Oh, thank you very much, sir. Once again, it's a pleasure having you around. So to you guys out there, I'm sure you've learned one thing or the other in today's episode. Special thanks to our guest again, Mr. Japhet. Thank you very much for honoring our invitation. I hope maybe in subsequent times you'll also come around. So to come your way again on another episode of Talking, don't forget to check us out on our social media handles, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at TalkingNG. And you can also listen on Anchor.fm or whatever podcast app you're using. So I come your way again on another episode of Talking. Is still saying, keep talking linguistics.